Where to start? We're right in the middle of a war, still in the middle of the war, and it's intensified because Maud has gotten out of prison, so King Stephen doesn't have her locked up and secured now. And one of his noblemen who fought for him in the war was injured. His name was Richard. This whodunit is the Hermit of Eyton Forest, which I forgot to mention. And the nobleman was Richard, and his son was also named Richard. And when he was injured, and his wife died when Richard the elder was off to war. He had the young child taken to and put in care of St. Peter and St. Paul Monastery. So the child is 10 years old now, and his father has died. We start out with Brother Paul has to tell the young boy that his father has died, leaving behind his grandmother, who is now the head of this state. But because the grandmother has her own designs on the property and wants to marry the 10-year-old boy off to a neighboring estate, thus combining both properties, the father had left the boy completely in charge of the Abbey of St. Peter and St. Paul. And so the abbot is in charge of all decisions concerning him until he comes of age and until he has his education. The grandmother feels he doesn't need an education. He needs to come home and take care of his lands. But there is a person a steward that their father had left in charge of the lands that's taking very good care of him. He doesn't need to be there. He's very reliable. He'll still work for the grandmother, but she wants the boy home. So you can imagine the wars, the turf wars, worrying about him disappearing, worrying about her getting her hands on him and making her wishes known. She had a hermit that she let stay on part of their property, and he is very much devoted to the grandmother too. So we're worried about the hermit. We're worried about the steward if she tells the steward to capture him, or we're worried about, and the hermit has an assistant who goes by the name of Hyacinth, and he's a very unusual young man, and nobody knows where he came from, but he's very likable, and he struck up a friendship with Richard. So we have this group of people, and it's then the master of, this brutal man comes from another territory, and Bossier, and Bossier, and he's terrible. He beats the people that take care of his horses. He strikes them constantly. He had made a gash across the face of the young man that was helping him. And so Brother Cadfael finds out that this is a man to be avoided. And what is he doing here? Well, he's looking for his runaway property, which is a person that we come to find out has skills that are so valuable, and he wants him back because he owns him and it's his property, and he'd rather thrash him, but instead of killing him, he's going to work him to death. But he is going to get his money's worth out of this person. So you can tell everybody really likes Bossier, who is in this story found dead, and then we have to find out who killed him because somebody stabbed him in the back. And a lot of the people think, oh, it must be Hyacinth, the young man. He must be the runaway person. So we have this going on, and we also have then Richard runs to tell Hyacinth, his friend, watch out, Bossier is here, and he never comes back. He disappears. So for a number of days, the other boys in the school kind of hide the fact that he hasn't been in his bed and he hasn't been there, and I don't know how Brother Paul overlooked it, but then they set out searching so they're searching for the murderer for Bossier, they're searching for young Richard, and the grandmother's going to sue I don't know if they used the word sue back in those days, but she's going to ask for all kinds of compensation for this difficulty from the abbot and from the abbey. She's a wicked, controlling person, and in this story, and always gets her way. She wants him married to this young lady, and Richard, who's 10 years old, said to Brother Cadfael, well, she's old. She's so old, and she's been almost married before, and I don't want to get married. And of course, when we meet her, she isn't all that old. She might be all of 20, but to a 10-year-old, 20-year-old is old. And she's not really, only reason she looked as ugly as she did is because she wasn't any happier about it than he was. It's a fun story. I mean, there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of things going on, a lot of different ways to go, and so many names that are, these medieval names are not easy to remember, except for Richard. And young Richard, the 10-year-old, was named after his father, the elder, who passed away. It's one to pick up, it's one to read, and it doesn't seem to reflect back on, except for the fact that there's an ongoing war between King Stephen and Maud, and that always interjects in once in a while. So pick up and read The Hermit of Eyton Forest, and the next book starts out with a snowstorm, so that means it's going to be in the winter. I don't want to read, maybe if I read a winter book now, it'll cool off this 98 degrees here. Yeah, maybe that'll be a good thing to do. I'm just going, oh, snow covering everything. I can't get into that. I want to wait till closer to Christmas because we never see snow here. So anyway, that's the next book. We'll get into that one after. What's the name of it again? It has a very unusual name. You'll find out. It'll be the 15th chronicle. Can't believe this is only the 14th, so then that'll be the 15th chronicle of Brother Cadfael. So, we'll talk to you then. Mrs. Murder saying, so long. It's been good to know you. Gotta be drifting along.